Hi, everybody. This is Mary Hynes-Berry, and I'm here with my good colleague.
And this is Jie-Qi Chen. And I'm so happy, Mary, we're together today to talk to our colleagues in California.
Yes, about conversations that count, how to develop number sense in 0 to 5-year-olds. This is a topic that both of us have been thinking about, along with our colleague Barbara Abel, who you can see on the um, we've acknowledged her on the screen. We've been thinking about it for a very long time.
Well, in fact, and we have been working this project for almost a decade, and we worked with many hundreds of child care providers and who work with children from 0 to 5. What we're presenting here, in fact, is a collective wisdom and from all of us for all these years.
As a matter of fact, before we say anything else, we have to thank all of you who are joining us. When Jie-Qi says that we've been working with others, we have especially benefited from working with caregivers and who are working directly with children, as well as in home daycare, as well as in center care. And you are the ones who really do the work. If you look at this wonderful little Matryoshka doll and you see how it starts out teeny, 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 weeny, and grows and grows and grows, that's the way that children's minds grow. But in order for them to grow, they have to feel safe and contained. And that's what makes, I love this image of the brain growing too.
Mhm.
That's what makes the brain grow.
Yeah, the image you have here is like a tree, okay, really from very solid roots, whereas that is what the caregivers planted and then and make them really grow, our children to grow,
And
right?
make our children to grow.
Yeah.
And it's really important that we do that the right way. I think that's one of the biggest things we've learned. Because humans are hardwired to learn by what I would say by heart. They
Mm,
have to be nurtured
mm.
by important others who care. That's the term the three of us came up with. It's not a new idea, but it's maybe a special way of saying it. And by it, we mean that we closely attend and we intentionally respond. We look at the child that we're looking at and we see what can make them feel safe, comfortable, especially make them feel valued and give them the sense that they can do what they want to do. And we'll help them in every way we can.
Yeah, well, I think, Mary, you're so right. And we all know that human beings is a social being. So, and the learning is always embedded in the social
Social connection.
interactions. So this care principle we'll talk about here, closely attended, intentionally responded, really reflect that kind of principles in human being learning.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. Um, and so this is, as we say, is so essential. Uh, and it really relates to a story that you know.
So essential and sometimes we take it too hard and by thinking about okay if we push a little bit more it will be getting better, and here is a Chinese proverb. It says that once upon a time there was a farmer who really loves his plant, so he planted all kinds of vegetables and weeds and wheat and rice. And then one day he was just waiting there, saying, God, how come you don't grow fast enough? So he thought, okay, I have a good idea. And he pulled out each one of those plants. What happened?
Oh no.
What happened, Mary? You think?
Oh, I can see. Yeah,
And the
they,
next
the
day,
next day, look at them. They're all dead. There's no good. Their roots they've been pulled up, but that means that they couldn't grow.
that's right. So, and push up rice roots to help them grow is not a good idea for a farmer. And the push too hard to our youngest children to push them to really and make them grow is not a good idea either.
it's in fact a really bad idea.
Oh, let's see
Yes,
how bad it is.
it is not doing what makes babies and nice plants and animals and every living thing grow. It's not nurturing. And that's a problem because right now we have all kinds of forces that are saying that we have to pull those little infants and toddlers up by the roots and we want them to perform like 3-year-olds.
Yeah, we heard because and there's a pandemic impact, and we talk a lot about the learning loss. And so in many schools, our administrators and teachers were kind of a push to see catch up, catch up, catch up, right?
Right.
So in Mary, you have been here for so many years, and what your experience says this about this kind of pushing?
Well, what my experience says is it's very, very counterproductive. Um, for the last almost 25 years, we've been really pushing down. We've been trying to get
Mm.
uh, 3 to 5-year-olds to perform or in kindergartners to perform the way that my children were expected to act in first and second grade 25, 30 years ago, or more maybe. No, actually, and and the loss is enormous, and it's really been exaggerated. I keep talking with my grandchildren about how the pandemic has really made it so difficult for them to learn because they can't interact in the same way.
Mm, yeah. So back to what you said earlier, still the social interaction is the key.
It is the key.
Okay.
It is the key.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we see that. I think what we're saying is right here in this slide. It's actually a matter of equity and social justice that we push back against pushing down. I mean, look at those children. Look at
Yeah.
those faces.
Now, why we're saying this is an equity and a social justice issue?
Well, because if we try to measure children by standards that have nothing to do that are related to their experience,
Mm,
then we're going to have whole groups of children who fail. Not because there's anything wrong with them, but because they haven't been asked to think or to give the answers that are the only correct answers on the test.
I see.
And so, what we're really talking about is the right of all children to do what's natural to them, which is to be a problem solver.
I see. So, in other words, if we really push too much and we really and make lots of our children fail, that's why it is a really social justice equity issue. And so we need to work together to push back, right, from the
That's right.
bottom back instead of they push down.
Down.
Okay.
The other thing is that children, you and I went to a wonderful talk yesterday about the importance
Yes.
of supporting infants and toddlers and very young children by simply taking advantage of their life and
Yes. Yes.
interacting.
Yeah.
And just think about what it means if you are constantly be given a message in school that there's something wrong with you because you aren't doing what the test or the teacher told you to do. That in the end kills your spirit. It's as bad as pulling the rice chute out.
That's right. And I think Mary, you and I also in a book club, we're reading in the book about Montessori, right?
Yes,
And the title of the book is the child is the teacher.
the child
And
is
I
the
think it's really what you said yesterday. The talk went, it really talk about 3,000 children's case studies, and you can see, and the one of the principles and was that the the child is active and adaptive to the
yes,
environment.
yes.
And we really need to observe children and trust them and provide the environment and nurturing their growth.
And children will adapt to whatever environment they're in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you and I both grew up in situations that are different from what most children are growing up in now. You in China, me out in rural Minnesota, where I went to a two-room schoolhouse. So there were four grades in one room.
But still, and yes, children are very adaptive, but it is also our responsibility as a caregiver to provide what you said earlier, care, nurturing environment.
Yes, and conversation. And so um, one of the problems, and I thought, again, everything we've done together and that a talk yesterday really brought out beautifully that math isn't just for school. It is all around us. It's all around us in everyday routines and interactions. It's not just about counting. Instead, it's a logical way of thinking that allows for increasing precision.
I think this definition is really important to to know this, okay? And because of the definition change, and we'll see in our lifetime and our daily life, and we keep using this logical reasoning, logical thinking, and to predict things, to reasoning things. So that's why, and the math is more than just counting and a particular rote counting.
Absolutely. Um, I think in all the years we've been working with the caregivers, is
Mhm.
they're so delighted when they suddenly realize, oh yes, this is really true.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yes.
that
So let's give some example and
okay.
what that look like.
Well, okay. And so here we have a wonderful example.
This. So on the left side, we see here is a pickleball game, and the children really play and back and forth. And we all know kids are just love it from very beginning. And in this activity, we see that in the this kind of surprising and the social interactions. There's a predictions, there's a patterns. There you can also counting how many times, right? All these are math thinking. It is a math.
It's math.
Yeah,
And if you look at the picture on the left, you can see that there's so many easy ways to talk about what's going on and to put numbers and locations on it. Everybody's laughing. Oh, look at you, you silly Willie. You put on two sets of glasses. Do you have two eyes? Two sets of eyes? And she just laughs. Of course not. I just have one set of eyes, but I got two glasses.
and one is at the top and one is at the bottom,
That's on the bottom.
right?
So
Yes.
we talked about number, we talked about spatial relationship.
And
That's
they're
where
about
math
the
comes in.
same size.
And they're about the same size. But I just had to be really stylish, so I got purple on top and yellow on the bottom.
That's right.
Yeah,
And you can do something different, right?
right?
Okay.
Absolutely. So there's so many ways that this is just simply logical. And notice in both pictures, everybody's having fun. And that's another important point of research, that the more engaged you are and the more that you are feeling that you're valued and that you're that you're comfortable, then the better you learn.
So I think that there's a word and a keyword that you put there, and it says playful.
Yeah,
Okay. So this interaction is not just say, Mary, sit down. Okay. And but it rather, and we're playing.
we're
And
playing.
through playing and children's this and wonderful kind of a affect get activated,
Right,
right? So
right.
and this is the engaging and the laughing and that kind of a learning is just joyful.
Yeah, yeah. I think just as you were saying, I'm thinking about things like tone of voice. Imagine if the teacher had said uh, in to the little girl with the two sets of glasses, "What's the matter with you? Why'd you put two glasses on your head instead of one?" Would that have what would that have done to the conversation or to the interaction?
Well, certainly the child would feel, well, something wrong with me, and I
Yeah,
really should not play.
yeah,
And then they shut down their brain, their heart to continue to learn.
absolutely, absolutely. So um, this is why we've been talking about conversational math.
That's right. And we think math is manipulative, but it is more than manipulative. And the conversation with children using the tones and the affect all matters in math. We call it conversational math. And here we just give a few examples here about many mathematical problems, mathematical problem situations found in everyday routine and interaction. For instance, how much? Oh God, how many? How many crackers do you have?
Yeah.
And what comes next? Well, we just had in the milk and we just had the breakfast. What comes next? Okay, where is it? What does it go? So all these about the quantity, about the sequence, about the spatial relations, and all of them is math.
All of them are math. And so it's really kind of wonderful to think about how the more that you say more, then the more children's mathematical understanding grows. It's really, and if you think about it, just think to yourself, how many times have you said more today? And well,
I
tons,
don't
right?
even, yes,
Yes.
countless.
Would you like some more water? Would you like some
That's
more
what
this?
you ask me. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Uh-huh.
and so we are asking, we're using more for all kinds of different measurements, which we talk about quantity. Do you want more? Do you want less? Do you want the same? We may also talk about, do you want two or do you want three? Should I take one away?
Hmm.
Do you we talk about size. Is it bigger? Is it biggest? Is it smaller? Do you
Hmm.
want something that's bigger?
Uh-huh. So these kind of um, terms, mathematics, vocabularies, terms, and the conversations help highlight the math concepts, right? Because
Absolutely.
otherwise it could be really, and children play, but they're not quite sure what exactly that embedded in this activity. So the term we use, mathematize, and through this conversation, and you help mathematize the activity.
The
That
activity,
okay.
precisely. And it's things like we tend to think that math is only number, but
Hmm.
math is not, by no means only number. And but we use numbers in that kind of mathematizing.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, um, spatial and temporal relationships, we call that geometry,
Mm-hmm.
and we also call it scheduling.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
numbers are very, very important in both of those. And so, if we say to somebody without and just say, uh, go over there and get a book off the shelf. Well, look behind me,
Yeah.
Jackie.
Okay.
uh, boy, that's not going to help anybody, right?
That's right. So I need to see, and Mary is probably from left or right. And which one is number five or something like that,
Well,
right?
yeah. Is it
Yeah.
on the second shelf?
Yes. Yeah.
Is it maybe is a red one on the second shelf?
But that's what you said is the precise, right?
That's
Yeah.
that's
So you
exactly.
get a more and more precise when your children are young. You certainly would not need to that kind of a precise position. But as the child gets older and their mathematical thinking is getting more sophisticated, and that increasing precision will also appear.
Exactly, exactly. And so we have to think about how infants, toddlers, and twos navigate this learning pathway
Mhm.
because all of us begin in this very early stage where we just notice, and when we're a baby, we notice with our senses.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
because that's what we feel. It's what
I
we
see.
feel, what we hear, what we see, uh, what we can touch, what we taste, all those sensory impressions are where learning begins. And that's what happens in what we call the emerging stage.
Oh, okay. So that is the first stage of this 0 to 3 period, right?
Exactly,
Okay, called
exactly.
emergent stage.
Emerging stage. And then we get to receptive understanding. And we all are at that stage at some point where we aren't quite sure, we aren't able yet to say what something is,
Mm.
but we can
But
catch
you're
it.
observing
I'm
here,
observing,
right? Okay.
And if you're pointing and I'm saying something, then I can start to make sense of it.
So does that means that even though young children still not able to respond to us yet, we will still need to expose them a variety of rich, in the information?
Absolutely. It's
Okay.
and so and again, that was something that the talk yesterday brought out beautifully, is that there are lots of things that we can indicate either that we know
Mm.
or that we wonder about by using gestures
Uh-huh. I
or by
see.
using pointing.
Okay.
So um, if we go back to the books behind us on the shelf,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll say, "Well, Jackie, just do you see a book with a red cover?
Yeah.
Okay, can you get me that one?
But there's so many.
Well, give me one. It doesn't matter which one.
Okay. I'll take one.
Yeah,
Uh-huh. There's a little bit of red.
yeah, okay.
Mhm.
So you knew red,
Yes.
and so you were able to follow that direction, even
That
if you didn't know the word red, right?
that's right. But and I think
I
that's
mean, even though you couldn't say red.
I could not see it, but I already noticed this, and you may see big one, and I put big one. May
Yeah,
not be exactly the one you need, but it's certainly in the big in the range. So that will probably put us more of a next stage.
it's in the next stage. Although I think the other thing we could say about this is I help you by saying, "Oh, Jackie, look, you got me a red book."
I see. So that really gave me the sense of accomplishment and the praise that I will know I will continue to do this.
You will continue and you'll continue to want to do that.
Yeah.
And that brings you up to that next, or that our final stage, the expressive productive understanding. And that's when you can actually say it and do it kind of on your own.
Aha. So, and these three stages from perceptive to receptive and to the expressive understanding really is and from children more um, receive to observe than to produce.
And then to produce. But you know, it's not just children, it's all of us.
I see.
It's everybody. We all go through, first we sort of notice something, then if we're
Yeah.
interested in it,
Yes.
and
Yes.
curiosity is very important. I mean, that's why
Yes.
curiosity is so important. Then we're going to start paying attention and observing and listening to the words that somebody wiser tells us. And if we get a response back, then we're going to be even more perceptive and receptive to it. And then eventually we're going to go ahead and be able to do it ourselves.
I see. That's such a good explanation. I was thinking, and myself, and so in other words, this is a parallel. It doesn't matter what age. You almost always go through this kind of a developmental passes where you learn something new,
New.
right? And even today, and in a mature intellectual state, we always receive or perceive things much more than we could express. That is
Absolutely.
okay. So, personal example, of course, I came from and China, and English is my second language. But and I fortunately have married as a dear friend who speaks so fluent and with a very rich vocabulary. And well, I understand some of these things. Not if I don't, I ask. But and I will never be able because I'm really very late to learn English to speak as much as fluent as Mary. So my expressive vocabulary is much smaller than my and receptive language.
Yes,
And but that's okay.
that's
Yeah.
perfectly fine.
Okay.
And furthermore, that goes back to the idea that you have to care. You have to use this closely attend and intentionally respond.
Yeah.
So when the baby in the picture in the middle sees that expression of excitement on his father's face, then he knows he's done something great playing with that toy.
Yes.
And go ahead.
Yeah, in the later stage, I would say the kids play together, right? Yeah. So, and this social interactions, both adults and the child, as well as the children and among themselves.
Exactly. And so the more those interactions go on, and the more that we communicate around them, then the more children are going to learn, and they're going to learn, as we said, those mathematical concepts. So infants and toddlers cannot do math. They can perceive. That means that they notice quantity, lots of things, and magnitude, big and little. And that's where all learning starts, is at this perceptive stage. It's noticing and remembering sensations, persons, things, experiences. Now, that's an inappropriate picture.
Cute, but it's inappropriate.
Inappropriate because this is not good for baby. Babies are attracted to more and different, but they don't understand more as quantity, meaning, oh, that's more numbers of things, as different from magnitude or size. It's more because it's bigger. All those ideas are just sort of loosey-goosey in their little heads.
So what do you think here is that, and again, when we talk about the developmental path, and it means that from very general understanding of the quantity, magnitude, and intensity to gradually more specific and more precise.
Precisely.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly. And actually, that intensity of a sensation, how much they feel it, that has a very big impact. Because what we feel the most strongly is what fixes in our mind the most strongly.
Aha. Okay.
And so that goes back again to the importance of that positivity.
So, but when children get a little bit older and they develop, as we said, increasing the ability to differentiate between these and the mathematics and the the features, quantities, and magnitudes.
Right.
So here is the end. What kind of a more are you talking about? So the more, this generic terms or generic math concepts, the general math concept becomes more and more differentiated.
It becomes more precise.
Becomes more precise.
It goes back
to the definition of
back to the
math.
definition. Yeah. So we can actually see that in the video we're going to about to show you. So as you're watching the video, listen. These two toddlers they're probably about 20 months or so. They're just beginning to talk. And they also are just beginning to get a little more precise about big and what's bigger. So let's watch them. Oops. Oh, I'm sorry. What have I been doing here?
Clicked in the on the. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. Great.
Sorry.
Sorry, I think we're restarting.
Well, so that's a wonderful, um, really a wonderful
Children's interaction
interaction.
in such a playful environment. And they were playing and the reader just put things back into the big tube. But then you see the math concept really started come out, right?
Right.
They used the right term,
They got the idea of big
big,
and too big.
too big.
And
Yes. So
so
it's a comparison, right?
it's really a comparison.
Yes.
And so it's really a good sense of how toddlers can't count, but they can develop receptive understanding. They can know what it means to count. And so count words have something to do, they can figure out, to answering the question, how many of what? And that's a question, that's a finding that, again, is the importance of our communicating with children using things like our gestures, our words, um, always saying to children often that how many are there? How many do you need? All of those things that make such a difference.
Yeah, it's just that a little short video clips you see, and as Mary said earlier, and the first and the recognize that and the math is not just counting, right? And here is in the very much of the and the and the what is the size, right? And the fitness and to but it can really extend to how many you tried, how many times you tried, which one fit, which one doesn't. And the most important thing is, Mary talked about earlier, is this positive affect involved in this playful environment.
Precisely.
And children learn and through play and through engagement, through joyful and experience.
Imagine showing that video back to those two little boys, even shortly afterwards, and saying to them, look at you guys. You tried one of those great big hippopotamuses and two of them and three of them. And guess what? They didn't work, did they?
So
No.
if as a child care provider, you highlight the experience of children just engaged.
And then you can bring in those words. You can say you did 3 tries and you didn't get it.
I
But
see.
then
You
what
see,
happened
you
with the
really
baby?
use the fingers.
I use the fingers. So
I
I'm
see.
doing all of those ways of showing how many of what. And that's what we can do all the time.
Yeah, we say just don't use flashcards. Use conversational math during everyday routines. So here is the 4 or 5 year old child, and you see, and this situation happens in every classroom every day. Okay, and when you have a snack, when you have a lunch, when you have a and something, and the children can come to help. How many forks? How many friends at each table? Do you have enough cups? All these are wonderful mathematics questions and the evoking and the children's thinking or promote their thinking. Yeah.
And this is very natural addition and subtraction. I see you put 1 spoon down there. How many places don't have a spoon at them?
Yeah.
And that's a very easy way for children to again to just sort of uh, be hearing that math and counting are things that are valuable for us to do.
Help us to solve problem. That's
Yes.
really important, right? Math is not just something abstract on the paper used for some kind of a distance purpose. It is a part of our life, and it's useful to help us to look around, to analyze the situation, to solve the problem.
To solve the problem. That's exactly it. And so understanding more is quantity means only happens if young children see and hear purposeful counting modeled. And that means that they have to hear this idea of cardinality expressed. Now, cardinality is a word we don't use in our everyday life as a word, as a term, but we do it all the time. And that means that we say, this is the end of our counting. So we say, uh, 5 little monkeys jumping on the bed. And then we go on and sing that song. And when we finished with one fell off and bumped his head, Mama called the doctor, and the doctor said, no more monkeys jumping on the bed. And now we begin the next verse. How many monkeys left?
Oh, 4.
4.
So that is the cardinality?
It's going from now we can't count 5 because the one is down. So now we count 4. But what Susan Levine study brought out so well is that it's really important for us not to say how many now and then count 1, 2, 3, 4. It's to name, yes, we need 4 monkeys now.
I see. So counting, when we count, and we need to read a one-to-one correspondence, but we also need to see the last word, last number that represents the whole set.
And we need to say the last number, which is an adjective, associated with what was counted.
What do you mean adjective?
So there's no such thing as 3.
So for young children, we need to always count on something.
Absolutely. And we need to let them know that we're counting something.
I see.
And we have to get them to name how many plus what it is that they're counting.
I see. So 5 monkeys, 5 fingers, and so on and so forth.
And I could pull 5 books off of here.
I see.
We could call some more people in, and we could have 5 people here.
Okay.
All of those are 5s. They're different size 5s.
Yeah.
In terms of magnitude, 5 books are smaller than 5 people, but nonetheless, that's why we have to say how many of what. That's cardinality expressed.
Point. Yeah.
And so if 3, 4s, and 5s can count, if their mathematical thinking has been nurtured from birth, that means they have to have had all of this kind of encouragement, this thinking about how many of what. And
again, as we talk about developmental stages, and from perceptive to receptive to expressive.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so we're almost done, and we're going to finish off with one more video taken at EduCare, where our friend Barbara Abel was working with us.
Can you see just a few words about this videotape?
Okay, so this videotape is taken in a classroom. The one little girl is just over 3. She's already had her 3rd birthday. Okay. And the second little girl has not quite yet had her 3rd birthday, but she does have a new sibling at home.
Okay.
So she's thinking that, of course, she's bigger. And they're reading a wonderful book, which is about a very everyday experience, going to the grocery store.
Okay.
And
let's watch that.
Let's watch that. And so...
Journey of mine, a feast for 10. Remember we talked about where you think they're going to the what? To the grocery store. One cart into the grocery store. How many grocery carts did we have?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
We have 6 people going to the grocery store. 2 pumpkin pies. Journey, how many pumpkins do we have?
Two.
2 pumpkin pies. Can you
That
count?
says 2.
That says 2. That's the number 2.
Want to count them?
Yes, if you want to count them.
1 pumpkin pie. 1 pumpkin pie. Apple.
Apple. It looks like an apple?
No.
What do it look like?
It looks like a pumpkin that you can eat it.
You can't eat it. Do look like something you can eat. Well, what do you think it could be?
It's ravioli.
Ravioli? It looks like it could be jelly.
Yes. It's
It's jelly.
and
You
I
think
got
it's jelly?
bananas in that.
And what are those?
Mama, chicken beans.
It's 3 chicken. 2,
1, 2, 3.
3. How
That says
many?
3.
3. That
Three.
says 3.
Yeah.
We have 4 children off to look for
More.
more.
1, 2, 3, 4.
4. Good job, Amira.
We did. It's
A sandwich. That's the bread. Now they put everything on
I
the
want
table.
some.
You want some? You hungry? It say 8 platters
the
down.
baby though.
The baby? The baby might be waiting for mommy to come and get her. But we gonna see if she gonna be at the table to eat with everybody. And it says 9.
Baby though.
She's the baby?
No, she look girl.
Right, she's a girl, but it's one a little smaller than hers.
She big. That's she. This the baby that she is 2.
She 2, and she is
Yeah,
it's the
that's
baby.
the sister though.
This is the sister. Is she a big sister or a little sister?
A big sister.
A big sister. What is she? What do you think she is?
A little sister.
A little sister. Well, what you think he is? Big or little? He's a big. He a big brother. Look, he licking his tongue like this gonna be real good.
Oh.
10 hungry folks to share
Ooh,
the meal.
that's
Down go the baby. We found the baby.
She got her bib on.
She have her bib. Why do you think she's wearing a bib?
Cause she won't spit on stuff.
Right, so she won't spill her food. We didn't see her early. Who do you think this is?
The grandma.
The grandma. And who is this?
Papa.
Paw. And who is this man over here?
Granddad.
Granddaddy. Can you name some of the foods they have on their table?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 10.
10. But let me see what I see. I think I see some chicken.
What? I see
There
chicken.
go the chicken on her plate. She got some chicken.
I see the chicken right there.
You see the chicken right there? I see.
I see potatoes.
Where you see the potatoes at? Okay. I think I see some carrots.
I
Remember
see
they
some
cooked the carrots?
I see some.
Remember it was mashed potatoes? What color are the mashed potatoes?
Chicken.
Chicken.
Yeah.
That is chicken.
Yeah.
Who is that?
Papa. That Papa.
That's Papa.
That's not the good
Why you
one.
think that's Papa? How do you know that's Papa?
That's not my boyfriend.
It's such a rich conversation there.
Oh, it's such
Yeah.
a wonderful conversation.
So, what do we notice about how the children and the teacher were having a rich conversation that are naturally including the math that is all around us? Yeah.
Yeah, did you notice how wonderfully that teacher used care, that closely attend and intentionally respond? And one of the places that really strikes me as especially important was in the beginning, the picture shows one grocery cart chart, but the child naturally counts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people going to the grocery store. And the teacher doesn't say to it, I asked you about the grocery carts. Instead, she says, that's right, there's 6 people going to the grocery store.
So that's exactly it's closely attended
And
and intentionally respond. Yeah.
Yes, there's so much more that we could say about that wonderful video. And there's an awful lot more that I hope you think about. But our time is almost up. So we're just going to remind you that if you want to learn more, you can contact us at our email addresses, or you can go to the Early Math Collaborative website. And you also might be interested in the book that we've just come out with, which is
Precursor concept, a math concept. And this is the summary of our 10 years work with hundreds of child care providers of 0 to 3.
That's right. And in Exchange Magazine, we've made a lot of the same points in the article that appeared in the March-April issue, Bridging Research and Practice. It is the math all around us that counts. So go off and find some good math.
Thank you.
Thank you
for
attending. Yes.
yeah, for attending our session.
Bye-bye.